Psych-Minded Media presents Best Psychology in Film with your host, Dr. Catherine Marshall Woods. Best Psychology in Film is also a book available online where books are sold. Today's featured guest, Chad Eric Smith. Hello, my name is Dr. Catherine Marshall Woods, and welcome to Best Psychology in Film. Love can take many different forms with various intensities. In some relationships, it can be an emotion that is strong and intense initially and fades with time. For others, it is an everlasting emotion and when not returned, becomes unrequited. The film Rumination, written and directed by Chad Eric Smith, explores the lengths individuals may take to return to a place of reciprocal love. Welcome to the show, Chad.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I saw your film Rumination a couple of years ago, and it still holds a lot of energy for me. Can you tell us a little bit about the film?
Yes, so Rumination is a 13-minute short film. It's a sci-fi drama, and it is about a heartbroken man who travels into the past for a second chance at a failed relationship. And it was inspired by my own personal experience with heartbreak following a breakup back in 2015. And so after that breakup, I was seeing a therapist to deal with the grief. I seeing a psychiatrist in which I was being treated for depression and anxiety. And one of the things that I decided to do was to kind of write how I felt down on paper. And those words, those thoughts grew into a screenplay about someone who, like me, was grieving and was, desperate to travel back in time to fix things. And so that's kind of how Rumination was birthed. We shot it in 2017 over the course of 3 days. It stars Kelvin Drama, Danny Gavigan, and Angus L. Winfield. And it did really well on the film festival circuit. I believe you saw it at the DC Black Film Festival.
You're right.
And yeah, it screened at over 20 film festivals and won over, actually it was over 30 film festivals, I think, and won over 20 awards. So people really, really enjoyed it. And I think it was mainly because it's not often that you see uh, Black characters, especially Black men, grieving. Typically, and then to then add a sci-fi element of time travel, I think made it even more compelling. So, yeah, it was a very cathartic experience, to turn, lemons into lemonade and to, really just through the process of writing it, producing it, directing it, and then going out and watching it with audiences and seeing them react to it and then discuss it was a really, I think, a healing journey for me. That also put me on a path um, for other great opportunities going forward. So, yeah, it was a blessing in a disguise.
I hear you say that it was a very cathartic process. When you were in your own work, let's say your own therapy with your psychiatrist, psychologist, do you feel like they were helping you through thinking about that this could be a screenplay, or were you just, you had the resources to say, I think this could be a good story for people to see?
It was both and, definitely both and, because in fact, the way I even heard of the term rumination was while sitting in a therapy session. And I looked down at a pamphlet and saw a pamphlet on depression and anxiety. And I looked at it and I was reading through it and I came across the word rumination, which I had never heard of before, even though I had received my Bachelor of Science in psychology. So when I read it and it said, like the focus attention on something and just, cycle of thought about something over and over again, I said to myself, wow, that's definitely what I'm doing. Like I'm, waking up thinking about her. I'm going to bed thinking about her, thinking about the breakup, reading the breakup letter that she wrote to me over and over again. And so but funny enough, when I first looked at it and saw the word rumination, it struck me as just a cinematic word for a title to a movie. I remember saying, "Oh man, that sounds like a good name for a movie." And then when I learned more about what the meaning was and how it resonated with me, that was actually the start of the process. So it literally came, literally began um, after the title. Just getting the title first.
You and I have had, luckily, wonderful opportunities to have conversations about this film Rumination over the years. And we've talked about really how the process of creating this film and it being a cathartic experience for you was an opportunity for you to actually sublimate and use this defense coping strategy to further help you.
Right,
And just like you said, many people may have not heard of the word rumination. Similarly, the word sublimation may also be a foreign word to people. And I
yeah,
just want to highlight that's what you've been doing or what you did. You turned lemons into lemonades, this tragic breakup for you and the one that required you to grieve. Also, you created a piece of work of art, allowing other individuals to be able to share in that experience with you,
right.
and hopefully it helped you heal. And I'm wondering if that's the case.
Yes, definitely. I feel like it was, different stages and phases. Putting just my thoughts on paper was a big part of it. But, and then, directing it and directing the performances, and then the editing process and kind of just watching it play out on screen and then watching with an audience and then kind of talking about it. Because I was on the film festival circuit for like 2 years. Um, and yeah, I definitely think it helped me to heal. So mission accomplished. Yeah,
Well, it's interesting because this film, you noted, it doesn't necessarily just show an individual going through a breakup, it shows a person grieving, and how films, they don't always show men grieving, especially grieving a lost love. And
yeah.
I'm wondering, do you feel like it was a piece of vulnerability for you to be able to show this? And were there any anxieties about doing so?
It definitely was vulnerable. I mean, the very first words that I wrote in the script were, um, "Ever since the breakup, I can hardly sleep. I'm having dreams about her every night. I've seen a therapist. I'm on antidepressants. I'm on anti-anxiety meds. I feel broken. Memories of her taunt me like lint under a black light." And those were actually true feelings, true thoughts that actor Kelvin Drama, the lead actor, says in one of the pivotal scenes of the film when he meets with the scientist who's going to help him. And it definitely was vulnerability. I'm not the kind of guy who would like write a Facebook status about it or tweet about it or just kind of just share willy nilly how I'm feeling with people. Um, but I found that like being able to do it in this way allowed for me to be as vulnerable as I wanted to be, but kind of it was in some ways still disguised in the form of entertainment. And having at first I was actually going to play the lead character because I'm also an actor. I've been an actor for over 15 years, both on stage and on film. But I decided that that would be a bridge too far, I think, to kind of reenact my own heartbreak on camera and then have to then see my performance for the rest of my life. And I always jokingly said at film festivals that it could also maybe come off a little pathetic. Like I can imagine like my ex-girlfriend coming across me reenacting me being sad about her. So by writing the character and having someone else step into the role, um, definitely I think helped me heal from like a both subjective and objective way, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. I'm glad that you used the word reenacting because that's almost what would have potentially occurred. It actually would have led you to be vulnerable to further rumination, actually,
Mm, mhm,
that you've gotten it out on paper. It's
mhm,
already out there. It's out, a part of it, it's out of you. But if you then take on the role again, it's
mhm,
almost as if it's happening again and again and again, not just
exactly.
now in thought, but now you actually have to behave in the
Yeah.
same ways.
Right. And I would be at the film festival after film festival after film festival, watching myself on screen, you know, doing and saying things that I was saying in private, you know. So, and you know, and the funny thing is that the actor who played the main character, Elliot, he said, at least at that time, that he had never experienced heartbreak before, which I thought was interesting for someone who was in his 30s at the time. So I thought that was a kind of an odd thing. I was like, wow, I haven't really met many people, you know, at that age who had never experienced it before. So whenever I would say cut, he would just go from being sad to like, all right, well, what's up? You know, hey, where the food at? You know, and and so it was interesting that he just was able to put this mask on and off. And he said he did a lot of research on just like depression, and he actually studied torture because he just thought about like how the mind could torture itself. And yeah, I think he did a really good job for someone who's never experienced it before.
Hear more of this interview at Best Psychology in Film on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, and where podcasts are hosted. Want to make your film psychologically rich? Visit our website at www.psychmindedmedia.com to collaborate. And find more on Instagram at psychmindedmedia. Created with works by